Got a day off or a weekend? Maybe you should consider taking a day trip. This is how this day trip started off. It had been raining forever and ever. But eventually the rain started to hold back and the skies turned into, well, just cloudy and gray. It was 4th of July weekend. Stacey and I were headed to Montgomery, Alabama.
That must be the Capitol. But we didn't see the White House, so the Confederacy.
First, we were headed downtown.
We have a Georgia license plate, right?
Yeah.
We're tourists.
We are tourists. We have
We have
no...
a map and we have a video camera.
Is there anything else?
Well, is there?
You see, we're on North Union Street in Montgomery, Alabama off 85. We got off 85 and we're gonna go down here where all the attractions are supposed to be. We were told to take a left where the old schoolhouse used to be.
That's not what happened.
We are tourists and we're going to try to find cool stuff in Montgomery. Already the architecture here has been just...
Oh, that's where the riverfront is. Everything's left.
We're on Madison, but it's not the Madison.
Like in New York, there's Madison Avenue.
Yeah, this is not it.
This is just a... Oh, wait. I guess just go straight.
Driving along, I couldn't help but notice the architecture, all of these Art Deco looking buildings. But for now, our first destination.
We're in front of the Montgomery Riverwalk entrance, and we're going to go down and see what it looks like.
And onward.
Down toward the riverfront, you can see where we were standing a little while ago that way. And then you go down. I think scary movies start this way.
There's a sign up here.
Okay, so we are at the Montgomery riverfront, and it looks a little dead down here. It's probably too rainy for many riverfront activities, as Stacey just said. But we're gonna check it out and shoot a little bit of stuff, and we'll show it to you. When we're in cities that I know absolutely nothing about, I just shoot things like this and let you read them.
Looks like there's a restaurant up there.
Then Stacey noticed something about this river walk.
The Riverwalk doesn't seem very long.
It's a riverfront.
It's not really a river walk.
I guess not.
Still, what they've done with it is very nice. Then I happened to notice a certain feature.
Up here, didn't recognize it at first. This is an amphitheater.
Oh, look, there's measurements, I guess, for when it floods.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's more people coming.
Add in some humor,
Now, what did the people say? There's a crowd of people coming.
Yeah, they saw us down here, and they're like, oh, it looks safe. Those people aren't getting murdered. So let's go down and murder them. So this is going to turn into like a Blair Witch thing any second.
and for you history fans, there are historic markers down here telling stories. Front and back, different information.
But look, the Montgomery riverfront has a bar. Not a bar on their streets up above, but on the riverwalk itself.
Hint, hint.
Also called the Sandbar.
Montgomery has done an impressive job of revitalizing their riverfront. And just get a load of this.
Okay, so I see something over here that looks really like awesome. but I don't know what it is, so.
It's a picnic area made to look like Roman or Grecian ruins.
Hint, hint, Columbus.
Awesome. Ah, this nice tile mural.
That looks like it might be a splash pad.
Oh, it is. That's the splash pad, I believe.
I had absolutely no idea what I was talking about here.
In the hot summer days, water would shoot up out of there and kids would run around in it. Very cool. Somehow, maybe it's because the real ones are in the Mediterranean, somehow water and Roman ruins just go together. Picnic in the ruins.
And then an amphitheater down by the river. Absolutely amazing.
That was the fireworks, and there isn't a speck of dirt or litter anywhere. It's like pristine out here.
And from the riverfront, the cityscape of downtown Montgomery is fantastic.
Oh, that's a pretty song.
As is the riverfront itself. And later I was browsing Google Maps of Montgomery, and apparently 2 blocks from where we are now, there is an abandoned rail yard, complete with a turntable.
Is that an old-fashioned train depot? It's pretty.
And it seems today our timing was perfect.
Okay, so we looked out. We're here with where this old thing is, train thing. Train station. And a train is actually coming.
We hear it, we don't see it. It's like that dizzy ride where you just think the train's coming because you hear the sound. And you feel the vibration.
Montgomery, Alabama apparently does not deal in short trains. The incredible length of this train was almost comical.
So apparently really long trains come through Montgomery.
This is the condensed version.
As much as I love trains, there's really only so much of this you can put on a video.
And so back up to the historic streets of downtown Montgomery. Montgomery has everything.
Shops and restaurants. We must make it a point to come back to Montgomery one day. There's so much to shoot here. I could spend hours just shooting stuff because, I mean, look. They have a mixture of this new Art Deco stuff, which is like really cool. And they have really old buildings that are turned into really cool things. And I just want to capture it all, and I've passed some stuff that was just fantastic. But we're going to stay on focus and we're going up here.
And on to our next destination.
Many places have torn down many of their old, fantastic buildings.
But not in Montgomery. Montgomery is the cradle of the Confederacy and the home of the Montgomery bus boycott, central in the civil rights movement. Welcome to the Alabama State Capitol and another capital.
We are in front of the first White House of the Confederacy. For those who don't know, the Confederacy had their capital in Montgomery before it was later moved to Richmond. And this house is not at its original location, but it has been preserved and moved, and it's right next to the state capitol. So we're going to take a look.
Inside, we met Henry Howard.
This is an 1887 city map of Montgomery. This is where you're at today. The original location of the house was 10 blocks down Dexter Avenue, close to the Alabama River on what is now the corners of Lee and Bibb Streets. This photograph was taken on Jefferson Davis's birthday, June 3rd, 1901, before the house was moved. Today on this property sits a skateboard park behind our Renaissance Hotel. Must be progress. But it was built along the riverfront by a wealthy planter from Lowndes County by the name of William Sayre, S-A-Y-R-E. He happens to be the great-great-uncle of Zelda Sayre, the wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald, who wrote The Great Gatsby. And if you were to travel east on I-85, exit 3 is Zelda Road, named after Zelda Fitzgerald. But in 1861, when the first 7 states seceded from the Union, their representatives met across the street in our capital. Jefferson Davis was the senator from Mississippi, and he resigned his Senate seat when Mississippi seceded. They were back on their plantation south of Vicksburg. They were in their rose garden. In fact, when he got the telegram, he said that he had been chosen president. Now, the ladies of Montgomery knew that they weren't going to bring a lot of furniture along, so they filled this house with all their beautiful furniture. Jefferson Davis arrived in Montgomery the 17th of February. His wife, Verena, and their 3 children went down to New Orleans, Louisiana. They were on a mission. Their mission was to have a presidential coach made, and being a good Southern woman, while she was down there, she had gowns and dresses made for her, clothing made for the children. She hired a French chef, and she arrived by riverboat to great fanfare on March 4th, shortly after President Taylor's granddaughter raised the first Confederate flag over the city of Montgomery. It's the one we fly on our flagpole, the First National, or the Stars and Bars. Now, they lived in this house until the end of May. By the end of May, Virginia had seceded, the war had started. God bless you. Virginia had seceded, the war had started, and so the Confederate Congress voted to move the capital to Richmond because the war was in Virginia, not in Alabama, and they didn't like the fact that it was taking too long to get any communications to and from. Once everyone had relocated to Richmond, the ladies of Montgomery came back in and took all their possessions out of the home, and over the years we got a few of those pieces willed back to us. The house fell back into rental property, and by the year 1900, the area surrounding the house had changed to a warehouse and business district, because by that time, the residential areas had moved away from the riverfront. In the year 1900, it was the only house on the river. It had sat vacant for several years, and so the owners of the property decided that the property was worth more than they could tear the house down and build on the property. That's when a group of women got involved. It's always the women that do this. They modeled it after the largest, which is the Mount Vernon's Ladies Association for George Washington's home. They bought this house. Ladies, this house was a housewife's dream. There was no bathroom to scrub nor kitchen to clean. Those were separate rooms detached from the main structure. We've all heard of the outhouse, right? Well, they called it the necessary house. How proper. This house is 6,000 square feet. It has 11 rooms, 10 fireplaces, and the ladies bought this house, lock, stock, and doorknob for $800. But they had to move it. So they petitioned the state legislature for a grant. That froze everything. Mrs. Carrie Phelan Beale was a close personal friend of Verena Davis, and she sent Verena a telegram informing her the ladies had bought the house. In the year 1900, Verena and her eldest daughter Margaret, who was 6 years old when they lived here, were the only 2 still living. They were in the process of selling Beauvoir, the retirement home in Biloxi, when the ladies contacted them. Verena was so pleased they had bought the house that she shipped about 60% of their personal belongings to Montgomery, including Jefferson Davis's complete bedroom. Well, when Verena passed away, she had moved back up to her apartment in the Majestic Hotel in New York City. She died on the night of October 16th, 1906. She died in her sleep and in her bed. She had made prior arrangements with the hotel that upon her death, her furnishings were to be shipped down to us. So not only do we have the bed that Jefferson Davis slept in, but the first room you come to upstairs, we call that the New York room, and those are the furnishings from her New York apartment. It's even set up like her apartment was, and yes, that's the bed Verena died in. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, legislatures being where they are, it took them 18 years to vote on the money, and in 1919 they were finally granted $25,000 to move the house. They came in, took photographs of all the rooms, and they took the house apart in 3 sections. Brought each section up separately, and it took them over 1.5 years to reassemble the house on this location. And on Jefferson Davis's birthday, June 3rd, 1921, it was given back to the state of Alabama as a house museum. Before her death, Verena even drew a diagram that you'll see upstairs that showed us how to set President Davis's bedroom up. If you look to the outside of every door, there's a brass plate telling you what the rooms were used for while they were here. Now, the only 2 rules we have are no sliding down the banisters, and make sure your flash is turned off your camera. And go sign my guest registry, and then take a self-guide and wander through.
Thank you very much.
Well, we thank you. I'm the docent here. I'm a volunteer here, and I work every Saturday unless I'm at a reenactment. I also do Civil War reenactment.
Very cool.
And I portray a Civil War doctor, a surgeon, and usually when I'm here, like on the weekends, if I'm not in my Confederate uniform, I'm in my 1860s doctor's outfit.
Very cool.
Very impressive, yes.
Though the political upheaval of the Confederacy in the South and the Civil War is well known, it is interesting to note that at one time in America's history, this country had 2 opposing capitals.
Very pretty canopy on the bed.
And having seen but a few highlights in Montgomery, Alabama, Stacey and I hit the road and headed towards our next destination. We were going to celebrate Independence Day.
In Prattville, Alabama, on July 4th, 2013, apparently the rainiest 4th of July in living memory, and this is one of the few towns that is actually having fireworks tonight, so that's why we're here. We're very grateful to the city of Prattville for persevering on the actual July 4th to have the fireworks.
So we pulled up, parked, got out of the car, and decided to have a look around Prattville.
This is the stadium in Prattville where they're going to shoot the fireworks. As you can see, people are already starting to assemble. It's pushing 6 o'clock in the evening.
Prattville's 4th of July celebration every year has a theme.
The theme this year is is honoring veterans of wars.
And the stadium was still primarily empty, so it gave us time to look around. The churches were getting ready with their own little celebrations outside the stadium. Apparently geese roam free in Prattville. And this is cool.
They didn't have play places like this when I was a kid. This is like a play city.
A high five to any members of Generation Current who can tell me what this is. And so we strolled on down the way, taking in the sights and sounds of Prattville. And the people turn out all over town to celebrate Independence Day with their own barbecues and whatever way they can celebrate. Prattville has its own rich historical history. Old houses line the streets. So we headed up toward the backside of Main Street.
We're at the back end of the historic district of Prattville. It looks like it's a really cute old town. One thing that Brian knows about me, but nobody else probably does, is that every year we sort of are looking for like this perfect sort of ideal 4th of July celebration. So we came to Prattville, and it's looking like a very cute town, and so far it's been very fun.
Stacey forges on ahead, excited by 4th of July and a small town. Prattville's Main Street. Not the center of this particular episode, but we must come back. But it was time to head back to the festivities.
So, we're in a stadium this time, and hopefully we won't be in the blast zone like we were last time.
That was terrifying last year at Lake Blackshear. But we were idiots. We went like where no one was sitting and thought, oh, this is perfect, and then we got kicked out because it was the blast zone.
We were wondering why it was so, the seating was so abundant in that spot.
So this year, we're going to be more careful.
And this year there's a stadium, so it's like there's clear seating. Things are really gearing up. A lot of traffic coming into town. We went to the square, the town square, the main strip, and we just shot a little bit of it because that's not really the reason we're here. Okay, so Prattville is a big town, but at this day and this time of the year, all of the activity in this town is around the stadium.
So we headed back to the Stanley Jensen Stadium to find that a considerable number of people had arrived while we were out walking. And back in the stadium on the stage, the band was gearing up and the public speakers were getting ready for the evening's programs. It was getting late in the evening, day was waning, which meant we were getting closer to Fire in the Sky. And many people had assembled to sit back and watch what was to be a remarkable 4th of July celebration. Beyond the fence, past the main arena, concessions were set up to provide refreshment for the revelers. There were several stands set up outside the fence. This one I didn't check out, but this one, Yankee chicken on a hard roll, you cannot go wrong. And if you're planning to come here next year, I shot the menu for your preparation. I bought a few things from this stand, which you will see in a moment, and there were men in uniform carrying the colors. And the snacks I bought at the stand I delivered to Stacey and got an update.
See what's happening now.
Well, we're sitting here enjoying the music and watching everyone frolic. I've been hit by a frisbee twice, but it's all in good-natured fun. And now I'm gonna eat this delicious cotton candy. Strawberry.
Normally I try to find a citizen of the town we are visiting to get certain information, but this was a little different.
Now, I was going to find some random stranger to ask this question, but since your favorite holiday is 4th of July, I think it's better coming from you. What does 4th of July mean to you?
It's the anniversary of our nation's birth, and it represents everything good about this country and everything I love. It's about coming together and watching fireworks and being grateful for our freedom, being grateful for our military, and being grateful to God for blessing this country.
The band was the Prattville Pops. They were geared up and already playing. Refreshingly to me, the entire program started with the doxology and a prayer.
I said this will be a rain out tonight. They said absolutely not. It would not dare rain on our parade. And it didn't. It was a little mist.
John Garrett of Bama Country 98.9 opened up and kicked things off. The fire department brought in the flags, which was followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem.
Fire department presenting the colors of the American flag.
Truly a beautiful sight to see the people stand at attention and the flags come in. I love Prattville.
As one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the national anthem.
Then Mayor Bill Gillespie Jr. presents Lieutenant General Charles Chick Cleveland with the key to the city.
It's a sort of a modern day key to the city. And whenever I was first elected, I was given the key to the city, and I took that key and I went to every door in the city of Prattville and didn't get any of them. I was told later on that this is on that room, but I might have found out where that is. But with that said, this mayoral coin is the modern day key to the city. If you would accept it, it would be my honor. It's a military coin, and it just pretty much represents the thank you that this community gives you for the services you've done. That said, I will turn the microphone
And then he handed over the microphone to Lieutenant General Cleveland, who had a stirring speech about the Vietnam War, facts and myths.
Mayor Gillespie and all the people who come here, especially the Vietnam veterans. I love what Cottrell, Lions Club, and the city do for the veterans of the show.
And Lieutenant General Cleveland had a large and enthusiastic audience.
Listen, I'm going to talk directly to the Vietnam War, if I might. And I'm an under-reconstructed hawk about that war. I think we were there for the right reasons. We fought the war honorably and under some very difficult conditions for both the air war and the ground war. But since that time, in fact, during the war, we were bombarded with the thoughts that the United States military lost that war. And let me tell you, that is absolutely untrue. We won every major battle of any consequence, both on the ground and in the air, during that war. And from 1965 until 1973, when it was negotiated peace settlement, we were on top. And in March of '73, the last of the American combat troops had left Vietnam. And it wasn't until 2 years later that Saigon fell to the North Vietnamese army, and our side officially lost the war.
He spoke at length on the war, both about America's part in it, as well as the soldiers who fought, dispelling misconceptions about the very nature of the war, as well as the soldiers, and that those who claim that there's never a reason for war are wrong, because there are times a nation must stand up and fight.
That were remaining in the country, but the Chinese and the Russians did not cut off their support for the North Vietnamese forces. That's what lost the war for. The soldiers that fought in that war, according to the press, were way too young, didn't want to be there, they were draftees, they were uneducated, they were dumb, and they just went out and were cannon fodder for the powers that be in Washington. And that's dead wrong too. 2/3 of the soldiers who fought in Vietnam were volunteers.
And when he was finished, the orchestra played on. As evening turned into night, they played patriotic songs, setting the mood for the display yet to come. It was an emotional and awe-inspiring experience. It was a thing to behold. Sights and sounds unique to the United States of America. As evening wore on into night, bringing us closer to the final display of fireworks, in my estimation, more than 4,000 people had trickled into the stadium to celebrate the birth of this country. For all the issues and conflicts that this country has had and has today, it is heartwarming to experience the coming together of so many of my fellow Americans. God bless America. At the close of the fireworks, the lights of the stadium slowly came back up. People began to disperse. Patriotic music still playing, then replaced by popular top 40 music. Out in the parking lot, people were making their way out of the stadium and on home. Stacey and I lagged behind to let the crowds disperse before attempting to leave ourselves. It did not take long for the stadium to once again become as empty as it was when we first arrived. The celebrations were over. The people had gone back to their daily lives after having come together to experience this. The life of a day tripper, spending days off and weekends in distant towns, celebrating events and visiting with perfect strangers, but all fellow Americans.
We hope you have enjoyed this edition of Day Trip. Happy 4th of July.
It was great.
And I'll take you where you've never been, where you want to go. Up where the clouds live or where the waters flow. Take you anywhere but where you've been. Ride the